You seem hungry. Good thing your table is ready with Faturday Omaha.
Faturday Omaha.
Eat this.
Hey, it's Dave with Faturday, and we are sitting in studio with two wonderful guests, and that is Rayn Tot and Talia McGill. How are you both doing?
Doing awesome.
Doing great.
Awesome. Well, thank you for venturing out on this way cold evening here. I know no more empty pots, and I have had coffee provided by Cups Cafe back when it was open over by Casio's many
Mm-hmm.
moons ago. Let's kind of get into it and kind of talk about, for those that don't know, what No More Empty Pots is. Let us know. And Talia, you can help us with that because you're president and CEO. So who better
Right?
to let us know what's going on?
Yes. Well, I always like to start when someone says, what is No More Empty Pots? Whoo, that's a loaded question because what aren't we? But the way I like to explain it is that we are a nonprofit. We support the community, and our lens of doing that is through local foods and food systems. So we like to leverage the local food system to do several things: education, workforce development. We do entrepreneurship and producer support, as well as food access and food security work. So all of those things combined, we believe, help create a thriving community, right? One thing that we all have in common, no matter where we come from, no matter what socioeconomic status we are, we have to eat.
Yes.
We have to eat. We like to eat. We want to eat. We want to eat with others and all the beautiful things that come when you do that. And so that's really the work that we do, is really supporting people as whole persons in any way that we can while touching food.
I don't know what size staff that you guys have, but I have a feeling it takes a lot of human beings to make all of that happen. So what is kind of the rough staff size, and then kind of from there, if you can help kind of break down each of those many things and kind of help me learn a little bit about what each one of those do.
For sure. So I'm going to take you back in time.
I love it.
Where all of this started in 2010 with volunteers. And our first two employees were our founder and then a manager of programs. And fast forward now, we're 15 years into this.
Yeah.
We went from volunteers and 2 staff to 35 staff plus 10 to 14 students and interns at any given time.
Nice.
And we have grown from working out of libraries and other community spaces to owning 2 out of the 3 properties that we occupy. And so we have incrementally grown. I came in around 2017, and there were 5 of us then.
Oh, wow.
And so the pandemic, while we may have thought that would have caused us to downsize, actually created more opportunities for us to serve. And so we really had a surge from 2020 through 2025 in growing our capacity and our staffing to do the work. So that kind of layers it for you a little bit. And so all the different areas. So I'll start with education. We provide educational opportunities for early childhood education all the way to seniors. Surprisingly enough, everybody in between and on the ends have some of the same needs.
Sure.
Learning basic cooking and nutrition skills, where your food comes from, how to grow your own food if you're interested in that. We also do other science experiential things wrapped into that. And now in our new facility, we actually have a science lab, which is cool because we can do more of that.
That is cool.
And so our community education team works both within our facilities, but also out in the community. We do a lot of after-school programming. We are getting into partnerships with other local organizations and nonprofits working with folks. And so that can happen anywhere and everywhere.
Wow. So
literally.
With making the education piece happen, does that happen at a No More Empty Pots, one of your locations, or do you go out to schools, or how does one make the education thing happen?
Yeah, well, I might pass this to Rayn because Rayn's former position was actually one of our community educators. So
we did this right then. We got the right people. This is perfect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our community education program lives on site at our Food Hub location, but we also go out to different schools during the school year as well. So during the school year, we do an after-school program through Collective for Youth. And so This year, I believe we serve at 4 or 5 elementary and middle schools. And then over the summer, we actually have this really cool program called Summer Fun, where groups from different youth organizations are able to come on site to our location and do a culinary workshop in our kitchens. We have a kitchen that's dedicated to students called the Kids Kitchen.
Nice.
And then we also do a gardening program on our rooftop garden as well. So yeah, a little bit of both.
And then if you are, because you kind of said the needs for maybe some of our aging population where they might need some additional assistance as well, since obviously they're not going to elementary school. Like how do they get involved if they need some educational opportunities?
I would say definitely a lot of the work we do is partner based. So oftentimes, let's say a senior facility says, hey, we have a gap. We want to get them engaged or we want to get them socialized. And of course, we like to eat. So
Nice.
how can No More Empty Pots support us in doing that? And often a lot of these things will start with a simple conversation, but we'll go to them. So while we have commercial kitchen facilities within our buildings, we also have portable burners and paper products and different things that we can take to recreate some of the lessons off-site. And the way that we develop our programming, a lot of the things that we develop for youth are modularized so we can do it for any age group. And selfish plug for 2025, the team is going to be launching open to public activities for the first time really since COVID. So you'll see us start publishing things that anyone can just come and engage in. So we're really excited to kind of spread that engagement back again.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've done like partnerships with different organizations that offer like intergenerational learning as well. So a couple months back, we did a partnership with the Malcolm X Foundation, and that group that came was intergenerational. We've worked with drawing a blank, UNMC, and did intergenerational learning. So yeah, a lot of it, like Talia said, is partner based, but I'm excited to see what this year brings for our direct to public.
So I have a feeling we could probably talk a decent amount of time just about the educational component because it sounds like there's so much there. So education is one. What's next?
Next, I would talk about our workforce training program. So currently, we offer one, but we're looking to expand in the next 2 to 3 years. But our current program is called the Culinary Certificate Program. It is state certified as a post-secondary program. So when folks take this program, they're there for 8 weeks and they learn all the basic cooking skills through the same curriculum that they may see if they went to Metro's culinary program. So we teach them all those basics because a lot of times some of these folks that we serve are already in the food industry but just need a little skill development so that they can get a better position wherever they are. Or we're also seeing that there are a lot of employers that are looking to skill develop their employees as well. And so we like this program because one of the things that we found early on is that working in the food industry is really hard to make a living wage. And so the idea is that if we provide people with more skills, they can enter at a higher living wage in whatever they choose to do with their culinary development. And it's short enough that people can keep their attention. We know a lot of folks have families and other jobs, and so they can't really commit to an all-day program or a 2-year program or even a 4-year program, so they just don't chase that dream. And so this is kind of an in-between starter point where it counts for college credit. So our 8-week program does count as a prerequisite to Metro's culinary program, and from there they can continue that on, or we try to help find job placement for them when they're done with their 8 weeks. And in many cases, if we have capacity, we bring them onto our staff as well. And so a lot of our graduates, they want to start their own businesses.
Sure.
So it's handy that we have an entrepreneurship program as well. And so sometimes that's the path that they take. But we're looking to add additional certificate programs now that we have a soil and hydroponic greenhouse space that not only do we do production in, but also intend to do education. So we're looking at developing a horticulture version of that as well.
The hydroponic growing, is that what's up at Highlander or is that in a different?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
That's us.
Do you also have the little store that's there as
That's
well?
us
The
also.
micro market.
The micro market.
So
Yeah.
everything in that greenhouse and below
Okay.
we occupy that space.
Okay.
Okay, so for those, because we haven't talked about the micro market on the show, we're not even going to get there that much this evening. But for those that are listening out there, the micro market is super cool. And please, Rayn and Talia, add any commentary in here you want. But having been out there, it's a great selection of local goods and produce. I picked up some soup mixes while I was out there, but there's raw vegetables and things out there, and just some really neat things in a really neat space. And so that's very, very cool. And that's sort of kind of a more recent addition, right? So like within the last year or two.
Yes, we had our grand opening last December in
Okay.
I should say 2023.
Yeah, right. It's hard now that we're.
It's going to take me like a month before I'm writing the right year.
Yes.
And then we opened the market in April of
Okay.
2024.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
So a little less than a year.
A little less than a year. Okay. Yeah, it's a neat space there, so you can go get your goods, and then like Hardy Coffee and Big Mama's are right there too, so you can go up to Big Mama's, get some chicken, and then get some coffee on the way out.
Right. You'll hang out there all day.
Yeah,
And we're
totally.
all friends, which is great. So
That's perfect.
We can jointly serve you.
How does a person that's in the restaurant industry contact you to make those things happen? And then what type of skills or classes are involved in that educational track? Like, what are the types of things that somebody might learn?
Yes, so I would say anybody looking for anything from No More Empty Pots, just call any number you find.
Nice.
You're going to likely talk to someone named Tanya who knows everything about No More Empty Pots and can get you in touch. So I will always say, when in doubt, whatever Google's phone number says, call that. But also we have a programs director that we can get people in contact with, myself. If you're a walk-in, we have that information. And then there are other partners that we have in the community that work with workforce development. So we're on their resource list as well. And then I would say the program itself goes over a lot of things. So they receive nutrition certification from UNL Extension, as well as Serve Safe certification, so food handling from UNL Extension in their first couple weeks. We do professional development, so resume, interview skills. We work on growth mindset. I lead that workshop, which is really awesome. I love that. They do some public speaking skills as well, because one of the things that you have to do as you move up in the industry is explain what you cooked. So it's really important. So there's some soft skill work that happens in there. And then from the food side, we do vinaigrettes, soups, stocks, sauces, pasta, meat fabrication. So they get to work with both local meat and just regular store-bought meat to kind of see some of the differences, for example, in the quality and what that looks like. We do different things depending on the season. So sometimes they'll add special recipes and courses to highlight what we're doing that week. Baking is a really good example, depending on, are we in a holiday season, non-holiday season? They might try something different. We try to bring in a different cultural speaker every cohort. So this last one, they did kosher food, and they use that as their capstone project at the end of the cohort, in which they serve a 5-course meal over lunch to staff and guests from the public. So that's something that we're looking at expanding again now that we have a little more space and capacity. So that's probably another thing to look out for, are opportunities to be served by the students.
You are a nonprofit, but is there a cost associated with those classes? I don't know, how much does it cost to take a class like that?
It's a very good question. So anybody can take the class, but one of the things that No More Empty Pots strives to do is make sure that we are creating space and access for those that are genuinely underserved most of the time. And so if you are underemployed or unemployed, when we have grant funding available or other funding available, we use that funding to cover the tuition costs for that student. We also, because we work with workforce development programs, sometimes they will fund student tuition. And then there's always the option for someone who just sees it and wants to go through the program, and they can pay out of pocket. Right now, today's cost is about $1,900 for tuition, and that's the whole 8 weeks. That's all those certifications plus the one they get from us. They get uniforms every day. They get shoes that they get to keep. They walk away with a knife roll, a white coat, books that are in alignment with university levels. So we're using the professional chef. So it'll be something that they would be seeing in other spaces. And then it pays for any of the guest speakers that we have come in and all of the add-ons that we do for development. Supplies, materials, everything is wrapped in there for that tuition.
That makes sense. And then, of course, there's all the food product that you have to have there, and of course, maintaining the space and all those things too. So there's those costs go in there, and instructors,
Yeah, salary
Right.
always.
Yeah.
But that's never fun to talk
No,
about.
no. That's fair.
We do pay people.
That's good.
Promise.
Living wage also applies to
Yes,
to
it
instructors.
does. It really does.
All right, so we have education for those out in the community. We have education for those looking to upskill or being able to enter the workforce at the level that they want to enter. What's next?
So I'll talk about our entrepreneurship support. So we have technically 5 commercial kitchens between our 2 main properties. And in the early stages of the organization, one of the reasons we decided to go that direction is because the community said that there was a need for commercial kitchen spaces for rent. And so after a few years, we learned, though, that even though people could cook, they didn't necessarily have all the business acumen to actually run a profitable, successful business. And so over the years, we've started developing opportunities for business development support in addition to the physical resource that we have as the commercial kitchen spaces. And so this year in 2025, we're actually rolling out a new program. It's also a cohort style program that goes through really business 101. It's 16 weeks and it's going to start in February, and we hope to continue to roll that out on a rolling basis, but really they'll get access to how to make a business plan, how to do your forecasting, because you got to know your numbers, where's your target audience, marketing tools, and on top of that, then access to any resources that we have. So let's say someone needs food photography. We can either point them towards a resource, we might hold a workshop, but we also have tools on site where like, hey, you need to borrow this for an hour, go take your photos. The other part of that is that entrepreneurs aren't just food businesses, but they're also food growers. And they have some of the same barriers as far as the business acumen. Like, they know how to grow the food, but do they always have what they need to get the food to people? It's a big barrier in our local economy, dealing with the bigger companies that can get food in from everywhere at a really cheap cost, and that's always going to be priority for a lot of people who would buy. And so we kind of play that role of, let's make sure you have your business side tight and act as a place for both the entrepreneurs and the producers to get their product to people. And so with the cafe being open, with the market being open, with some online opportunities, we're just trying to create all these spaces in which we can highlight these producers and the entrepreneurs.
Does that education apply to existing restaurant folks and owners?
Yeah, I would say the cohort model is really geared towards the startup phase, but throughout that course, we'll be bringing in different workshops, guest speakers, subject matter experts, panelists, those kinds of things. So that those pieces will be open to public, and anybody looking to learn more and grow is more than welcome to come to those things. And I would always encourage people, if they're finding themselves in a rut, sometimes it's just helpful to be in a space where people can bounce ideas about whatever challenge they're having, because it might just be something that because they're in it, they can't see it. And No More Empty Pot staff is really good about the idea, the noodling, if you would call it, of how to solve problems, because especially as a nonprofit, we're very used to doing a lot with a little. And so restaurants also have really small margins sometimes, and so they also have to do that. And I think this post-COVID world has changed how consumers consume, and everybody had a new idea coming out of that because people were coming back to restaurants again. And I think we got excited for a while, but now it's overwhelming. There's too many options and too many people doing the same thing. And how do I make myself different? And so, yeah, definitely we're here to be a sounding board. We're here to offer opportunities to learn. We're here to offer opportunities to feature product. I mean, we definitely, maybe the space isn't for you to reopen your business, but maybe you scale back and you just sell the burritos from someone else's shop. So you can still, people can still taste their food. Like, I'm just thinking about so many of my favorite restaurants that are closed now, and I'm like, if you would just jar your sauce, or you would just freeze these enchiladas and send them our way, like, we'll not only eat them, but we will also sell them, so people can still enjoy their food, maybe just not at a level of I'm sitting down in the space, but I think there's a happy medium where some of those people who are really passionate about food that had to unfortunately close can still get their food out there to people.
All right, so we'll probably come back to No More Empty Pots, the entity, the nonprofit. But Rayn, you've got a new mission, like new thing happening here. And speaking of things that were closed a while back, but are no longer or won't be, you've got a cafe happening with No More Empty Pots. So tell me about this. What's going on?
Yes. So Cups Cafe. This is the cafe at No More Empty Pots. It's one of our many programs that has been I'm not going to say under construction because it was closed for a long time. But we are in the process of reopening it. Tomorrow's actually our grand opening, January 7th. But basically, when I started at No More Empty Pots, it was October 2023, I believe. And I have a lot of experience in the coffee shop industry. And one thing I noticed when I started was just this empty cafe that was just in our building. And with the help of Talia and with the help of a lot of people on our team, basically developed a plan to get the space back up and running in the first quarter of the year. And that's where we're at now. So the idea is to have this space be a community hub that's really central to the growth of the community. Just having a space where people can come and relax, be connected to the many resources that we do have. Because something that I feel like I run into a lot is you go out into the public and you say, I work for No More Empty Pots, and everyone's like, what is that? And I could sit there for an hour and to explain
and
it.
here you are.
Exactly. So having the cafe be a place where people could come to just get connected to the many resources that we do have available to the community is something that we're really looking forward to. Also, to speak to the entrepreneur program that Talia was just talking about, the cafe will also act as a brick and mortar storefront where our entrepreneurs will have the opportunity to kind of get to understand what it's like to run a brick and mortar. So we'll be doing pop-up events where different food entrepreneurs who are in our program or not can use the space to host their own pop-up to bring their community into the space and utilize it that way. So plenty of opportunities in the cafe. We're also looking at community engagement initiatives, so hosting different events, partnering with different organizations to bring more people into the space to kind of go back to the whole idea of like fellowship surrounding food and coffee. So, yeah.
Where is the cafe? What is the address of the cafe so people can find their cup of coffee here?
So the address is 8501 North 30th Street. I got that right?
Yep.
Nicely done.
Yes. So it is in the Florence neighborhood. Yeah. We're right across the street from a Hy-Vee Fresh Market.
Zesto's is real close there.
Yep.
So, all right. So if you you can go get coffee and then go get a banana malt from Zesto's and live life. So, okay. What are the hours of the cafe going to be? So, I know when I can go get a cup of coffee.
For sure. So starting tomorrow, January 7th, we'll be open Tuesday to Saturday from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m.
What's the menu look like?
Oh, it's so good. It's so great. So we've got all of your basic coffee and tea options that you'd find at any coffee shop. We've got the lattes, the cappuccinos, the Americanos, the matcha, a variety of hot tea blends that we actually get from Benson Bounty, which is really nice because, again, it goes back to the whole local food security, regional food systems. So all of the tea blends that they make, they actually grow on their farm here in town. And fun fact, the herbs that they use and flowers that they use in their tea blends are also all native plants to Nebraska, which is really nice.
Wow.
So, yeah. all that stuff. We also have a specials menu with some really fun stuff. There's a velvet rain latte.
Hey.
Talia actually came up with the name. I came up with the drink.
Is it spelled proper for you, Rayn?
Yes, it's
Perfect.
Rayn.
I love it. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, and we've got like a peppermint bark latte. We also have a house-made chai tea that we make. Using a variety of spices and different teas as well, which is really nice because most places you go to, they just use like a powdered concentrate, but we make our own in-house, which is nice. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, you got me super intrigued about this tea because I didn't know that in the Omaha area we were like growing tea things where we could make local tea.
Yeah, they grow it, they dry it, they package it, all that.
That is wild.
Right down in Benson.
Now, I'm guessing the coffee beans probably aren't grown local. Would be my guess.
They're not grown locally, but they are roasted locally at Hardy Coffee.
Okay. So all right. So we were talking to Hardy a little bit before up in Highlander, and so their roast area is right by the micro market, right? So short distance, and then on 30th anyway. So you can get that there. So
yeah, and
awesome.
I also would add too. We do have food options. Also back to the entrepreneur program. All of the food options that we'll have available are made by local food entrepreneurs. So starting tomorrow, we'll have Sweetmeats Desserts, who is a local entrepreneur, Rhea Vinson, who makes all types of different pastries.
Yeah.
So we'll have some food available from her. And then also Busy Vegan is another local business. Alicia Steed, she will be providing some like hot food options and some more like lunch grab and go options.
What does the space look like? Is it more of a, grab and go? Or are there places for, maybe me to come and set up my laptop and hang out with a cup of coffee? Like, what's it like in there?
Yeah, for sure. We have plenty of seating in the space. So we've got chairs. There's these nice cushioned, like benches. We've got these nice kind of, I don't know how I would describe them.
They're like a solo study station.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like an oversized chair with a laptop table.
And it's cushioned.
Okay.
It's cushioned.
That's good. That's good. So you can make your coffee last a while.
Yes.
Comfy.
And we've also got a conference room in the cafe as well. That'll be open for reservations. So if people wanted to host like small gatherings in the space, they could do that, meetings, things of that sort. And then once springtime and summertime comes around, we also have our rooftop garden that has open seating as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
So you could get your locally grown tea and go drink it in the garden?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That just sounds good, like just that, if anything else. Wow. So how's the staffing going for the cafe? Are they, no more empty pots grads? Are you bringing in people? Like, what's the staff coming together? What's that looking like?
Yeah, so right now we have a retail team that kind of runs all of our front-facing storefront programs, all of our retail spaces. So that team consists of somewhere between 5 to 8 people. And so we'll have staff on our retail team rotating the space, working shifts in the market, working shifts in the cafe, as well as community harvest shifts, which is our CSA program. So that's what it looks like for now. We are talking about expanding staff in the cafe specifically, with looking primarily at students, people who might need a part-time job situation. So yeah.
I'm going to add that you should see a job description posted on our website or Indeed or wherever else you might find jobs, probably by the end of this week, no later than next week, for either a full-time or part-time position on that retail team. So be on the lookout.
I'm assuming there's probably like a careers page or something on No More Empty Pots.
Yep,
if somebody's
says
poking
job
around.
postings.
Gotcha. Because depending on when somebody might listen to either our radio broadcast or the podcast, they can keep an eye out for things like that as well. So, Rayn, you had mentioned the CSA. So I had done a CSA, the Community Shared Agriculture, through Wieninghoff, a local farm here as well. But what's the No More Empty Pots one? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I can speak to it a little bit if you want to chime in. Sure. But our CSA program is called Community Harvest.
Okay.
So when we're looking at the micro market, we source all of the produce for our CSA program from some of the farmers that are featured in the market. And so basically we get produce from them and we pack them into boxes. And we have 2 rotating schedules where people are either able to purchase the boxes themselves and like subscribe to it. But we also have like a food support option that takes into account people's household incomes. Okay. So there are people who receive those things for free as well. But they're all locally grown food items.
And I would just say one of the things I love about Community Harvest Program is like, you never know the difference if someone is paying and they're not. Mm-hmm. Like everybody gets the same quality of service and product no matter what they're getting. So she did mention the produce boxes, the CSAs, but we also have scratch prepared meals made out of some of the same produce. One of the things that we found, especially with seniors, as they age, they have differing motor skills and things like that. Maybe they are wanting to cook for themselves at home, but they can't. And so what are the options, right? And so one of the things that we do to help support that is we make prepared meals that can also be purchased. Everything is local, so that's really cool. And our culinary students actually help make those meals every week. So they're getting experience with batch cooking that way.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Probably, scaling up recipes and maybe, I'm not, prep. It might be a little different if you're preparing, 100 or 200 meals versus just for yourself.
And there's one more thing I'll add about the CSA boxes that I think is really unique. But on each of the boxes, we have a sticker that lists all of the produce available in the box. And then there's also a QR code on there. So if you scan the QR code, it takes you to a page that shares different recipes that you could make with what's in the box. If people are unfamiliar with how to prepare a certain type of produce, we give them that resource as well. So
that's wonderful.
If you could have asked me years ago, and actually it got asked in my interview, do you know what a kohlrabi is? And I was like, do I need to get this job? Like, I could Google it real quick. I had no idea. And every time we put that in a box, I laugh because I'm like, I wish I could be a fly on the wall when someone who doesn't know what a kohlrabi is opens it and is like, what is that?
You're like, I got you.
It's good, though. It's good. But yeah, lots of, and that's part of what we do too, right? Exposing people to different cultures, to different experience. I mean, watching a kid eat a tomato for the first time, like, it explodes. Like, that's really like at the crux of why we do this, so that people just live.
Yeah. And it's so important to just like understand or like try to understand the world around us, you know? Like, I feel like as technology increases and develops further, sometimes we get away from nature. We get away from the very basic human things, that our ancestors have experienced from the beginning of time, you know? So it's really cool to kind of break that barrier sometimes with the work that we do. Like, I remember our summer program. On the rooftop garden, we allow the students to taste things that we're growing because everything on the garden's edible. And there was this one plant, it's called sorrel, and a lot of the kids were super like, I don't know if I want to try that. But the minute I told them it tasted like a lemon head, everyone tried it. And suddenly it's like their favorite thing. Like, can I have some more of that, Miss Rayn? Yeah, so it's really cool to see those moments and to experience that.
Talia, you had mentioned passing the kohlrabi test. and clearly you did, because you are president and CEO. But so what led you up to this point? How did you start with No More Empty Pots? Did you work in restaurants before, or like how did you get involved?
Funny story. So there's probably other people out there like me who has a mother who is always getting them into stuff. And because I have many talents or many things, or I figure things out, like, she will dangle me in front of things. And so my mother used to work at UNMC, College of Public Health, and had an interaction with the former founder of No More Empty Pots, Nancy Williams. She was supposed to give a presentation. At that time, our food hub wasn't constructed all the way, so she was kind of out doing the spiel, getting people excited, wanting to get partnership. Whoever she was supposed to meet with didn't come. They weren't in the office. I don't know why. And so my mom's like, well, you can give me the spiel, because that's how she is. And so Nancy gave her the spiel, and it was probably maybe like 15 minutes later, I got a phone call. It was like, I just heard this amazing thing, and I don't even really understand it, but you've got to go and you've got to talk to her. You just got to talk to her. And I'm at my other job. Like,
like I'm working.
like, I am busy. You cannot just call me with this. But honestly, the universe must have been making this come to fruition, because I met with Nancy at Cups in Little Italy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Just to learn about what is No More Empty Pots, that big question. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, I could get behind this. I could do some volunteering. At that time, I wasn't even thinking about it as a job. But she did offer for me to apply for something. I was like, nah, I'm not good at that. I don't think I could do that. I know nothing about food other than how to eat. That was my mindset in that moment. Fast forward a year, I was hating where I was. It just wasn't feeling, the work I was doing wasn't feeling good. And I could do it, but there was something every day was like, you don't want to do this anymore. And there wasn't any opportunity for growth. I just finished my master's, and I was like, let me call that Nancy lady, because she seemed real eager to give me a job without knowing anything about me. So I'm like, let me just call and see where they are, where they're at. And so I called, and she was like, well, yeah, like, here's some job descriptions. Kind of pull out what you want and make your own job description and then send it back to me. And like, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks later, I closed on a house, and then I started at No More Empty Pots about 8 hours after that. And so I did all the things you're not supposed to do when you're buying a house, like quit your job and get a new job. But that's how I got to No More Empty Pots. And the crazy thing is, like, thinking back on that whole process and thinking back about the interview and saying, I don't know what kohlrabi is, but that is kind of like what No More Empty Pots does. Like, it looks for your strengths, whether they are subject matter expertise to food systems, but really just took all the things that I've ever done in my life or that I said I could do as long as I stepped up to do it. And she took a leap of faith and let me try it. And so my first role was the director of communications. So Amy, who you've been chatting with, I was the old Amy. And then I did operations. And then she was like, peace out. And I was like, well, I think I passed the kohlrabi test.
Yes.
I can do this job. And so fast forward to 2024, 7 years later, I became president CEO. Wow. And so I have learned a lot. I've taken classes with the culinary program. So there's some things I learned how to do better. And as a lifelong athlete, to have access to the produce and the freshness that I have now day to day doing the work, it drives me more to like share that with people who are like me coming up, trying to be healthy, living in single family home or parent homes, like trying to do the best they can. But like, if you just have knowledge, if you just have some skill, there's a lot more that we can do for ourselves that is better for our bodies. We just oftentimes people in those situations that work a lot or are super busy, they just don't know, or they've never seen, or no one's ever presented them with those opportunities. And so for me, that's the passion that I bring to the table, since I clearly can't grow anything on my own and all I do is eat the food. That wellness piece and that performance piece, just feeling better because I just know how to eat better. I can feed myself. Like that's what motivates me in the work, is because I know there's a little Talia out there somewhere trying to do an all-day tournament on beef jerky and Red Bull because I thought that was how you got energy. It's like protein and sugar, and that is not. I mean, like, okay, you could do it, but by the end of that, like 7th, 8th game, your knees are hurting, your back is hurting, and now I'm almost 40, and it's like, whew, one less Red Bull would have done me good.
More kohlrabi.
Right.
Yeah, more kohlrabi.
So Rayn, how about you? What was your path to No More Empty Pots?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with, I grew up here in Omaha in a single parent refugee household. So my parents aren't from America. They came here as refugees, and growing up, food access was something that we kind of struggled with. And so like in my youth, I had to rely a lot on outside organizations to even feed me. And I feel like as I've grown up, and particularly when I was in college, I grew a really deep passion for food access and food security work. And so when I was in college, I did a farmer apprenticeship in Colorado, and that was like my first experience learning how to grow food, and kind of like what my connection as a human being to the earth is, and like what's important, I guess, you know? So through that program, it kind of opened me up to the urban agriculture world here in Omaha. So I started making connections and making friends with different people here. So when I came back to Omaha, I did another internship here in town with the Big Garden. And that was another like food growing internship, but primarily we focused on teaching how to grow food and how to work with food to youth. And so that was like another teaching experience that I had. I taught in the past as well, not related to food. So it was nice to bring those two passions together in that line of work. And so after that internship, I was feeling like, you know, I really want to continue to do this work. I just don't know where to go. And one of the connections that I made in the urban agriculture world, Dex Arbor actually pointed me to No More Empty Pots because he had worked here for a couple of years, really good friend of mine. And so, yeah, I went through the application process. I got to meet with the staff. And, yeah, a few weeks later, I was hired as a community education assistant. And I really enjoyed that role. It was so hard to make this decision to step away from community education. But ultimately, food justice is like a huge passion of mine, but also placemaking, like community building. And so I'm just glad I was able to bring both of those passions together and present this idea to Talia a few months ago, which I didn't even know things like this were possible in the workplace, you know? I was really just like, hey, Talia, we should open this cafe. And she was like, bring me a plan. And that's really how this whole reopening started, was just a conversation that we had and multiple conversations that we kept having and putting more things into place, signing contracts with different vendors, and now tomorrow's the day. So
that's
yeah.
awesome. Bringing your idea to life, like, and opening the doors that way.
Yeah. And so I'm just really appreciative to the culture at No More Empty Pots for even allowing something like that to happen, you know, just being able to bring back to life this program that suffered because of issues that were out of our control. You know, COVID came and Yeah. I don't even have to finish that sentence, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, I'm just very appreciative of the workplace culture at No More Empty Pots and all the people that I've met, and to Talia and to our whole team for just, you know, welcoming me in with open arms. Yeah, I've been there for about a year and a few months now.
We'll start with you, Rayn. So from growing up, was there a meal or a dish or anything like that really sticks with you from a food memory perspective that just makes you happy? Longtime listeners of the show, I've brought up a billion times, but I'm going to bring it up 1,000,000,001. My grandmother's cinnamon rolls are probably one of mine. She lived a little ways away from Omaha. We'd go travel. She would always have cinnamon rolls for me, and I'd play dominoes with my grandfather, and that's like a very core memory to me. So that food really takes me back. So how about you? Are there any dishes or anything like that to just, you know, speak to your heart?
Yes. Oh my gosh, there are so many. In my head just now, it was like rolling through the options, like which one was the one? I would definitely say this is a cultural food. It's a South Sudanese dish. It's basically a stew, like a spinach and molokhia stew, but it's called mula kombo, and it's something that I can taste it in my mouth right now. I'm getting excited talking about it. But this is something that my mom would really make for like big occasions, I guess. So like, you know, like graduations or for holidays, because it takes so much time to make this dish.
Yeah.
But it's basically a spinach and molokhia and okra stew, with the secret ingredient being peanut butter.
Oh,
It's
nice.
just kind of
Okay.
interesting,
That
but it's
sounds
like
good.
nutty
Not secret
and
anymore.
earthy. Yeah, I just told the whole world. But yeah, that's definitely my favorite dish. It just takes me back to childhood. It makes me feel like connected to my culture because I was the first of my siblings born in the States, so sometimes I feel a little disconnect, but it feels like home. So
Yeah.
that's definitely mine.
Oh, that sounds good. Talia, how about you? What do you think?
Distracted now because I'm hungry.
Right? Yeah, I keep getting hungrier through this entire conversation.
I wish I could pick two, but
You could pick two.
Okay, great.
There's no rules.
great.
No,
All right,
no,
I'm gonna
so-
pick two. One from my mom, one from my dad. Because it's hard to pick one
Yeah.
without them getting upset about it.
Yeah, they're going to listen to them.
So both of my parents are from Baltimore, Maryland, and they came here when my dad was in the Air Force in the 80s. And so I am the only sibling in my family that was born here. And so they're from a place where, like, seafood is fresh. You don't have to fly it in on a plane. And, like, I didn't really get to get all that growing up. But what I did get to have are, like, remnants of things that their families cooked that they brought here. So on my mom's side, it's really rare that she makes it, but she makes the best lasagna.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
the best lasagna. You can see all the layers, like the perfect crisp on the cheese on the top. There's something in there that is not in a standard recipe, and if you're listening, I would love that recipe.
Likely not peanut
There's
butter.
something, it can't be peanut butter,
Cannot.
but it's got to be some kind of herb or spice that, to me, takes it to another level than what the average, like a Stouffer's or whatever it tastes like. But it's so homey. It's made in one of those old school china with the pattern on it.
Yeah. There's a
Porcelain
little flavor
dishes.
built into the dish,
Like
maybe.
Yes.
some age in there. There's some age in that. So that's one of my favorites. And then for my dad, so my dad, his dad, all of his siblings, everybody on my dad's side of the family has their version of this, but his reminds me most of my grandpa's version of this. And I won't cook anything my parents cook to this day that I love because I'll just mess it up. But it's the strangest thing because in our family we eat fresh fish all the time. But this dish takes canned salmon, bacon, and rice. Like, that's it.
Okay.
And there's a little onion in there. But however he, like, simmers the bacon, add in the onions and this can of salmon, which there's good salmon and bad canned salmon. One has bones, one doesn't. And he, like, simmers it down, straight white rice, and just pour it on top. And I don't know why. It is, like, the best thing I've ever had. I can do without the salmon if all I had the juice.
Yeah.
If, like, that's all that's there, like, don't feel bad you ate it all. Give me the juice. And it's become this thing where, you know, if I go over and visit, like, I know I have to get there early because otherwise anyone else that shows up to the house is going to get all their share. But now he starts hiding, like, some slices of bacon for me, not where the other bacon is, so I can have a complete meal. But the lasagna and the salmon and rice are, like, my two favorite things growing up. They're things that we ate before, you know, my parents separated, and, like, I can't get them to make it enough. Like, can I send you part of my paycheck so that you can
Right.
just freeze it, just send it on over? Like, I'm that kid that will always want them to cook for me the things that I can't cook for myself the same. There's something different about when your family cooks
Yes.
for you. And
Right.
even though I learned how to cook a lot, it never feels the same. So I just stopped.
I get that. I don't know what it is. That special thing that your parents
Is it
have. They just
tears
put
or
in it.
something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's just that love
something.
and that care, and you know that they're present, especially when they know that that's your favorite meal too, or your favorite dish.
Right.
Like, that all comes through, and that's beautiful. If folks out there, we talked about, you know, Googling the phone number, of course. Are there other, like, social media or website things that people should kind of look out for if they want to know what's happening?
Yes. So we're very active on Facebook and Instagram at No More Empty Pots. We have a newsletter that goes out every month, which you can sign up for. And that always has good things about program updates, different events that are coming up, food that you can find, resources, and any kind of, like, application type things people might be searching for. They can go to nmepomaha.org, just the initials for No More Empty Pots, if that didn't sound very clear. You can go there and get a lot of things things, we are rebuilding our website. So we're going to be excited to launch that in roughly 30 days. And so we'll have even more resources and more ways that you can connect with us. Definitely by phone, definitely by stopping by, especially with the cafe being open in, as Rayn said earlier, like, it's just a space where people can get connected to our resources and have a cup of coffee at the same time.
Yes.
But we're very, very approachable. And honestly, the way most people hear about us is just asking someone in a room, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of them," and they can find us. So we're on 30th Street. Both right off of 30th and Lake and 30th and Willett are the closest intersections, and so we're about 4 miles apart in both of our facilities. So if you just stay on 30th Street, look for a really big green pot with a heart inside. If you ever see that anywhere, we're the only ones, and that's us.
Thank you both so much, Talia and Rayn, for being with me this evening, talking with me, and taking time out of your day, because you've got a cafe to open here tomorrow.
Pretty early.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, because I'm sure you'll be there before 7, obviously. So, but thank you both so much for spending time with me and teaching me more about No More Empty Pots, helping me meet you and learn a little bit more about yourself. So, thanks again.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Wonderful. Well, we'll sign it off here on Faturday. This is Dave Zorko. And as we say, until we eat again, stay hungry. Bye.
Our show is recorded and produced by Faturday Omaha. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, as well as email FaturdayOmaha@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and stay hungry.
Faturday Omaha.
Eat this.